Hello students, how are you all? I hope you're all well and fine. Dear students, in the previous class we have started the lesson Indian Physiography and we have started about the physiographic divisions of India. Under that we have discussed about the northern mountain and the great plain. So today let us continue the lesson and discuss about peninsular plateau and the coastal plain of India. First, let us see about Peninsular Plateau. Peninsular Plateau is the largest physical division of India. Out of the four physical division of India, this Peninsular Plateau is the largest physical division, and it is the oldest landmass. It was being a part of Gondwana land, means the ancient forest. So earlier it was a forest area. So it lies to the south of the Great Plain and occupies about 16 lakh square kilometer. So where is the position of the Peninsular Plateau? It is a south of the northern Great Plain and it occupies 16 lakh square kilometer. The shape of the Peninsular Plateau is triangle shape. Look at the map, the pink color that is there, no? So that is a Peninsular Plateau. So the shape of the Peninsular Plateau is triangle in shape and its apex is formed by Cape Kanyakumari in the southern extremity. Look at the map. In the north, this Peninsular Plateau is broad and to the south, the Peninsular Plateau is narrow. This Peninsular Plateau is bounded by the many hills and plateaus, namely Aravali, Vindhyas, Satpura, Western Ghats, Eastern Ghats, Chotanagpur Range, Deccan Plateau, Malwa Plateau, etc. So the most important mountain or the hills which are bounded by this Peninsular Plateau is Vindhya Mountain, Aravali Mountain and Satpura. Vindhya Mountain, you all know that. Look at the map, there is a Vindhya Mountain. So here in Vindhya Mountain divides India into the North India and South India. So this Peninsular Plateau is bounded by the many hills and plateau. The most important hills, that is Haravali, Vindhyas, Satpura. Then the plateaus also they are bounded by this Peninsular Plateau. The Aravali range is the oldest fold mountain, lies to the northwest, and Guru Shikara is the highest peak on the Abu Hills of the Aravali range. So the question they may ask, which is the highest peak on the Abu Hills of the Aravali range? That is Guru Shikara. Its height is 1772 meter. So the Aravali range is the oldest fold mountain which is there in the Peninsular Plateau. The Vindhya range flanks the northern edge of the Narmada valley. So by seeing the map you can understand where the Narmada river flows, there itself Vindhya mountain is there. So the Vindhya range flanks the northern edge of the Narmada valley. The river which divides India into the south and the South India and the North India, that is Narmada river. The mountain the mountain which divides India into the South India and North India, that is Vindhya mountain. Satpura range run in an east-west direction south of the Vindhyas in between the Narmada and Tapi rivers. Look at the map, you can easily understand. Next, about the Western Ghats. Western Ghats, in the west side, the green color shaded area is there, no? That is the Western Ghats. So the Western Ghats are a continuous range running parallel to the west coast. To the west coast, it is parallel. Parallel means similar. So the Western Ghats are a continuous range running parallel to the west coast of India from the Tapi Valley to the Kanyakumari. They are also known as Sahyadris. What is the other name of the Western Ghats? The other name of the Western Ghat is Sahyadri. So the Western Ghats are the continuous range running parallel to the west coast of India from the Tapi Valley to Kanyakumari. These Western Ghats are continuous. They are continuous and they are the steep on the western side and gentle on the eastern side. Then Boghat, Talghat and Palghat are the important pass across the Western Ghats. So, the Western Ghats are continuous They are very steep on the western side and gentle on the eastern side. Borghat, Talghat and Palghat are the important pass across the Western Ghats. So the Eastern Ghats are run almost parallel to the east coast of India. So in the west coast, Western Ghats is there. To the east coast, which Ghat is there? That is Eastern Ghats. Look at the map in the east side. In the east side, Eastern Ghat is there. The green color shaded area is there. No, that is the Eastern Ghats. So the Eastern Ghats run almost parallel to the east coast of India. They extended from Mahanadi Valley in the north towards the Nilagiri hills in the south, where they join the Western Ghats. Down here, the both Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats will be joined. Look at the map, you will understand that. So the Eastern Ghats run almost parallel to the east coast of India. They extend from the Mahanadi Valley in the north towards the Nilgiri hills in the south, where they join the Western Ghats. So south of Alghat Gap, the Western Ghats continue as the Anamalai, the Palani and the Cardamom hills. Anamudi in the Anamalai hill is the highest peak in South India. So which is the highest peak in South India? Anamudi. Anamudi, that is in Anamalai hill. It is the highest peak. The peak that is Anamudi, that is in the which hill? That is in the Anamalai hill. So it is the highest peak in South India. So that is in Western Ghats. Next, this they are lower than the Eastern Ghats are lower than the Western Ghats and they are not continuous. The highest peak which is there in the Eastern Ghat, that is Armakonda. Here, one 2 marks question will be asked. Differentiate between Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. Listen carefully. The Western Ghats are continuous. Western Ghats are continuous. Western Ghats are higher. Okay. Then in the Western Ghat, the highest peak, that is Anamalai. Okay. Anamalai is the highest peak. So in the Eastern Ghat is lower than the Western Ghats and it's not continuous. The highest peak that is in the Eastern Ghat, that is Armakonda. Armakonda is the highest peak which is there in the Eastern Ghats. Okay. So once again I will repeat. The Western Ghats are continuous. Western Ghats are higher than the Eastern Ghats. The highest peak which is there in the Western Ghat, that is Anamudi. Okay. The Eastern Ghat is lower than the Western Ghats and Eastern Ghats is not continuous. The highest peak in the Eastern Ghat, that is Armakonda. So if you write these 3 differences in the exam, easily you can get the 2 marks. So this is about the difference between Western Ghats and the Eastern Ghats. The Peninsular Plateau or the Deccan Plateau is bounded by the Satpura and the Vindhyas in the northwest. So the Western Ghat in the west and Eastern Ghats in the east, already we have discussed. The Mahadeva and Michael ranges in the north. The Chota Nagpur Plateau lies in the northeastern part of India. This says the position of hills and plateaus which are there in the Peninsular Plateau. What is the importance of Peninsular Plateau? Now let us see what are the importance or uses of the Peninsular Plateau. It is rich in minerals. So it is concentrated with the what? Rich in the minerals. This plateau is rich in the minerals. Variety of minerals can be found in the Peninsular Plateau. And as I told here, there is Eastern Ghats as well as the Western Ghats. Then mountains are there. So it covered with a thick forest. Obviously there we can see biodiversity. Different kinds of the animals, variety of the plants, flora and fauna can be seen here. So thick forest and the biodiversity. Influence on southwest monsoons. The southwest monsoon bring the rainfall to this area. So it greatly influenced the southwest monsoon. As this area is fertile, so this area or the Peninsular Plateau is suitable or best suited for the agriculture. So Peninsular Plateau is it's a best suited for the cotton crop. So black soil is found here. So it is best suited for the cotton. It is a birthplace of many rivers. Most of the South Indian rivers will take the birth in the Western Ghats or in the Peninsular Plateau. So useful for the generation of electricity. So this is very useful for the production of the electricity. Then it has many number of hill stations. Many number of hill station can be seen in the Peninsular Plateau. Once again I'll repeat the importance of Peninsular Plateau, or it is rich in the minerals. It has a thick forest and biodiversity. It has influenced on southwest monsoon. It's useful for agriculture. It's the birthplace of many rivers. It's useful for the generation of electricity, and it has a hill station. This is about the importance of Peninsular Plateau. Next, the last or the fourth important physiographic division of India, that is coastal plain. We are all in our district Udupi district, Dakshina Kannada. These are all the districts are in the coastal area. Means we are near to the sea. Which sea is there to the west of Karnataka? Yes, correct. Arabian Sea is there, right? No. So now let us see about the coastal plain. The plateau of peninsular India is fringed by coastal plain on the either the side. Fringed means it's covered or decorated. We can say it's a decorated. Look at the map. The green color is covered the white color. White color in the map, that is peninsular plateau. I told you, in a triangle shape. So the plateau of peninsular India is fringed by the coastal plain on either the side, both the side, in the east side as well as west side. This peninsular plateau is covered with the what? Covered with the coastal plain. So it extends from the Rann of Kutch in Gujarat, okay, in the west, to the delta of Ganga in the east side. So that is the extension of coastal plain. From the west to the east, its extension is from Rann of Kutch in Gujarat to the delta of the Ganga in the east side. So here the coastal plain can be divided into the two parts. The western coastal plain is called as a western coastal plain. The eastern coastal plain is called as a eastern coastal plain. The coastal plain can be divided into two parts. They are western coastal plain and the eastern coastal plain. So the western coastal plain, it lies between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. Look at the map. So the western coastal plain lies between the Western Ghats and Arabian Sea. Middle, what is there in the green color, green shaded area is there? No, that is the western coastal plain. So it lies between the Western Ghats and the Arabian Sea. It extends from the Rann of Kutch to the Kanyakumari. Rann of Kutch in Gujarat to the Kanyakumari. The south cape or the south end is there, no? So that is the Kanyakumari. And it's narrow and steep and rocky. So it is a narrow, steep and rocky. So next, the western coastal plain can be divided into three parts. Western coastal plain is divided into how many parts? Three parts. One is the Konkan coast, Karnataka coast, then Malabar coast. So the Konkan coast, which lies to the south of Gujarat plain, extends from Daman to the Goa. So Konkan coast lies to the south of Gujarat plain and extends from Daman to Goa. Then Karnataka coast, which extends from Goa to Mangalore. Look at the map. The Malabar coast, you all know that, which extends from Mangalore to Kanyakumari. So the western coastal plain can be divided into three parts: the Konkan coast, the Karnataka coast and the Malabar coast. Next, many rivers of South India flow across this plain and they have formed the deltas, that is Mahanadi, the Godavari and the Krishna, then Kaveri, the lifeline of Karnataka. So these are all in the coastal plain. They will take the birth in this place and flow, and it formed the deltas. Next, about the eastern coastal plain. This extends from the north of river Subarnarekha to the Kanyakumari. So from the north, which river is there? Subarnarekha is there. From the Subarnarekha to Kanyakumari, the eastern coastal plain has extended. It lies between the Eastern Ghats and the Bay of Bengal. How the Western Ghats lies between Arabian Sea and the Western Ghats, here the Eastern Ghats lies between Bay of Bengal and Eastern Ghats. It is broader than the western coastal plain. It's broader than the western coastal plain. It means that western coastal plain is narrow. Traditionally, the eastern coastal plain is divided into two parts, that is Northern Sarkar, which lies to the north of river Krishna, and southern part, which is called as a Coromandala coast, means Tamil Nadu's coastal area is there, no, Chennai, Tamil Nadu. So that is called as a Coromandala coast. So the eastern coastal plain is divided into the two parts, that is northern Sarkar and southern part, which is called as a Coromandala coast. Next, the importance of coastal plain. Why the coastal plain is important? So it is a place of natural harbors. So it is a natural harbor because of the coastal plain. Since from the ancient period, India has maintained the foreign trade through the sea. So it is very useful for the trade. Fishing and agriculture. The main occupation of the coastal area, Udupi, Dakshina Kannada, Uttara Kannada people, main occupation. What is their main occupation? Fishing is the main occupation. You know that if you go to the Malpe, there you can see from the morning the work will be started by the people. Along with that, people are engaged in the agricultural activities. So fishing and agriculture is a main occupation. So you know that how the salt is produced. Salt is produced by using the sea water. So this coastal area is useful for the production of salt. You know that Mahatma Gandhi ji has started the salt satyagraha, right? So this coastal plain is useful for the production of a salt. Shipbuilding is also the main occupation of the people of the coastal area, and it's useful for navigation. Attract the tourists. The place, these places will attract the people from the different places, from the different people will visit the children, beaches are there. The coastal plain has formed the beaches, so it will attract the tourists. So what are the importance or uses of the coastal plain? One, it is a natural harbors. It helps for the foreign trade, fishing and agriculture, production of salt, shipbuilding, useful for navigation and attract the tourist. So next, let us see about the islands of India. Island, what is the meaning of island? The land which is covered by the water in all the side, that is called as a island. Peninsular means three side water, one side land. India is a peninsula, right? So what is island? Island means the land which is covered by the water in all the side. So here in India, there are 247 islands. So how many islands are there? 247 islands are there. So out of the 247 islands, 204 islands are there in the Bay of Bengal and 43 islands are there in the Arabian Sea. So out of the 247 islands, 204 islands are there in the Bay of Bengal and 43 islands are there in the Arabian Sea. So the Andaman and Nicobar islands are there in Bay of Bengal, you know that, and Lakshadweep island are there in the Arabian Sea and are formed by the coral. So this is about the islands of India. So islands, how many islands are there? 247 islands are there in India. Out of the 247, 204 islands are there in the Bay of Bengal and 43 islands are there in the Arabian Sea. This is about the islands of India. So I hope you all understood about the lesson Indian physiography. In today's class, we have discussed about peninsular plateau and the coastal plain, then islands of India. I hope you all understood about the lesson. Thank you.